Hello from Victoria and me. And after a couple of nights away after the political events in Westminster, we're back and we've got a great programme lined up for you, haven't we?
Yes, we have. First tonight, it looks like this region is back at the centre of government as one of our MPs is made Health Secretary and others are tipped for senior appointments.
Cambridgeshire MP Andrew Lansley has been put in charge of the NHS. It means a place around the cabinet table for a politician from the East. It's the first since Charles Clarke was sacked as Home Secretary 4 years ago.
Other Tory and Lib Dem MPs from here are expected to be made ministers tomorrow as David Cameron and Nick Clegg put the finishing touches to their coalition government.
Well, our political correspondent Matthew Hudson is at Westminster for us now. Matt, it's happening incredibly quickly, but just remind us about who are the main power brokers from our region then.
Well, yes, the one big post for our region is, of course, Andrew Lansley from South Cambridgeshire, who becomes Health Secretary. No great surprise there. He has been the shadow spokesman for the past 6 years.
If you say to me, what are the reasons I'm in politics? There are really only two. One is to represent my constituents in South Cambridgeshire, and the other is to put into effect all those ideas and opportunities I think there are for improving our National Health Service. As I said during the election, I think what is good for the NHS nationally will be great for South Cambridgeshire.
There had been some speculation that Norman Lamb, the Liberal Democrat MP for North Norfolk, might have got that job. He might still well get a ministerial position within the Health Department, so watch this space. No news yet of Grant Shapps, the Conservative MP for Welland and Hatfield. He had been sitting in the shadow cabinet as Housing Minister. But for the most part today, a lot of the talk has been about the new coalition. Here's the views of two brand new Conservative MPs and the aforesaid Mr Lamb.
Yes, there are issues on which I will fundamentally disagree with the Liberal Democrats, but there are also issues on which there's a good overlap.
And there will be disagreements, there are bound to be, and it's a sign of healthy democracy that there are some. But we have the chance now to form a government that can deal with the massive structural deficits that we face.
We've demonstrated we're prepared to take difficult decisions, get our hands dirty, enter government, work with others. You know, no purity here. We're prepared to get stuck in and work with others for the national interest.
So the leaders believe that they can make it happen, but what about the grassroots? Well, my colleague Emma Baker has been to Chelmsford. That's a constituency that the Conservatives held last week, but they held it in the teeth of a strong challenge from the Lib Dems.
True partnership working.
Yeah. You could say forming a coalition is a bit like doing a jigsaw puzzle, getting all the pieces together and finding out which ones fit.
Three already stuck together. Now that's good.
But these Tory and Lib Dem councillors say working side by side for a common goal is nothing new to them. In the Conservative-controlled Chelmsford Borough Council, the Tories have 31 seats, while the Lib Dems take the remaining 26. So will the new Westminster picture change this grassroots politics?
Had there been a Conservative majority, I know what the policies would have been then for local government. I'm now in a position to waiting to find out.
I don't think it will affect us at all, because we do have our differences locally, quite rightly so, and we will continue to argue our point, as indeed will the administration.
I reckon sorting out a coalition was probably easier than this.
Perhaps more importantly, do these politicians think it's a partnership that can last?
I've no idea, but I hope for the sake of this country that they do work together and they put the interests of the country before politics.
If it doesn't last, then what's going to happen to the country and the measures that need to be taken to bring it back on track?
Down in London, MPs of both parties have been working hard today to cover up past differences. But beneath the surface, few could argue they're forgotten.
I don't share a lot of their core beliefs, but I think the deal that has been done, which there has been give and take on both sides, makes it more acceptable, and one has to look to the national interest. The only thing I hope is, from their experience working with us, that they'll clean up their act when it comes to fighting elections.
On the streets of Essex's county town, the reality of the political partnership is still sinking in.
Yeah, I'll be very interested to see how it works out. I hope they can work it together.
I didn't really understand how Lib Dems can be part of Conservative and push their ideas through when they stood for completely different things.
I think really if you voted for one particular party, you should have kept to that party.
An American politician once famously said all politics is local, and as the councillors here gear up for their first meeting since the election, they say it's simply business as usual. But no one here can deny that on a national level at least, things will never be the same again. Emma Baker, Anglia News, Chelmsford.
Quite a day, Matt. So an historic policy document released by the new government today. What are the highlights?
Well, some measures of interest for our region. No second runway for Stansted, that's there in black and white. Encouraging marine energy with things like wind and tidal power, and more freedom for our local authorities in how they spend their money. But amidst all this, spare a thought for Gavin Shuker, the new Labour MP for Luton South. He's no sooner arrived down here than he's having to give his thoughts to who's going to be the leader of his party.
I think we should have a contest where everyone that wants to stand does stand. The last thing we need is a coronation, and I think there are signs that that's going to happen, so that's encouraging for us.
But for the most part, all eyes tonight are on the new coalition and whether the two parties, which control 67 out of the 69 MPs in our region, can make it work.
All right, Matt, for this evening, thank you very much for that. Right, moving on to other news, and next tonight, the rape of an elderly woman that's left a community in Essex in shock. Detectives have spent the day searching a pathway in Harlow, where the victim was attacked in broad daylight yesterday morning.
People living locally say they hope the police can catch whoever is responsible as soon as possible. Lorna Ramsey reports.
Every piece of rubbish is checked, every branch turned over. Essex police officers spent the day searching for clues to help them find who's responsible for this attack. It happened in broad daylight at 11 o'clock yesterday morning. The victim, thought to be in her 70s, was attacked along this pathway which joins the New Hall estate with London Road in Harlow.
She's a lovely person and I just hope they catch the nasty person that done it to her.
People are walking around thinking that the area is safe and you find out that it's not, so how do you think everyone else is going to react? Everyone's going to be living in fear, basically.
Total shock, to be honest, because I always thought it along here was very, very quiet.
Detectives are keen for anyone who may have information on the attacker to contact them as soon as possible. He's described as in his 40s, about 5'5" tall and of stocky build. It's thought he was wearing a blue T-shirt with a yellow stripe either on his cuff or on his arm. The New Hall estate hasn't been here long. In fact, some houses are still being built. But everyone in this new community hopes the attacker is caught soon, so they can start to feel safe again. Lorna Ramsey, Anglia News, Harlow.